Right, number 5 is about law and order. Now, this is quite a short one, and really there's only so many questions they can ask about this. And the first question could be, like it says here, why were there so many problems with law and order in the West? Now, let's go back, sorry. There's a number of things here you need to talk about. Primarily is the geographical side. So it was the middle of nowhere. A lot of these places were very isolated. It took a long time to get there. Things were settled very quickly. Miners were a problem because things like claim jumping, they're obviously after the best claims. There's a lot of economic factors. So, for example, homesteaders were competing with ranchers. There was also a lack of political will, no real laws in place, particularly in mining towns. There's a lot of social problems, like racial issues between black people and Chinese and Mexicans, long-standing historical arguments between them and white people. There's also tension between people who had fought in the Civil War, so people from the north and the south. And generally there was an overall value of, I'm carrying a gun, you're carrying a gun, you do something wrong, I'm going to kill you. And that was what they called a code of honour. So there's a number of reasons here, and again, if you're going to get level 4, you must try and rank them. So the most important reason was geographical side, etc. There's loads of types of crimes. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but primarily, unusual crimes, things like bank robberies. They needed cash, and places like gold towns, for example, obviously needed a lot of money because they had a lot of money around. They were discovering huge amounts of gold. They needed to sell it, so there's a huge amount of cash being kept in banks. Very isolated places, very easy to rob. Cattle rustling, horse stealing, that type of thing. Train robbery was very common. Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. It was very easy to find the track, and they could just lay in wait and ambush the train. So huge amounts of types of crime there. Again, go back to the book. On page, let me just find the page number, sorry, on page 111, 112, and it will tell you about all the different types of crimes. So a huge number of crimes. The forces of law and order, well, the US Marshals were appointed by the President to look over a whole state. Again, they appointed deputies, but the problem was too few, too big an area. You had town marshals appointed by the different towns. Now again, what they struggled with was recruiting the best candidates. Now, who would want to be a town marshal? It was dangerous. Your life was in danger, and it was badly paid. Why do that when you can make more money robbing somebody or, looking for gold? They had sheriffs in the county areas, and again, too big an area. Places like Texas had their own little mini army called Texas Rangers, and they also had them in Arizona as well. But train companies resorted to having to rely on mercenaries, what they called the Pinkerton Detective Agency, and they employed the real specialist gunslingers who in the end tracked down Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, and they were called the detective agencies. And the other problem, even if they did catch people, was the fact there were so few judges that very few crimes went to court. Now inevitably what that led to were vigilantes. And basically vigilantes were people taking the law into their own hands. Now in some ways that was a good thing. Justice was swift. However, the problem was, obviously innocent people were killed. Who was holding the gun had the law. And it is often the case that that person was probably not the sort of type of person you'd want to be in charge. So vigilantes did provide some security. Overall, will probably turn for the worst. Now the other question they may ask here is about outlaws, and really, again, go back to the book, page 116, people like Billy the Kid, Wild Bill Hickok, all these various types of people. Now the thing to know about this is, a lot of it was exaggerated. I'm sure he did kill people, but a lot of it was myth. But they could get away with it. They could get away with these crimes because it was very, very isolated. So, really, on this topic, the main questions are: why was there so much crime? Why was it so difficult to prevent crime? And effectively, because the forces of law and order were very weak. And thirdly, can you think of an example of somebody who benefited, like Billy the Kid, for example, here? So, quite a straightforward topic. Just read back in a book for that section. Oh, let's come out of there. Stop. No, that's not right. Here we go.